right. Well, my name is Ranger Nick, and I'm with Washoe County Parks. And I'm going to be doing a presentation today regarding wildlife photography. This is the same presentation that I gave back in March for the California Park Rangers Association. They hosted a conference here in Reno back in March, and so I was able to present there as well. So that's what this presentation is. So we'll go ahead and get started just to make sure everybody is in the right place. Today I'm going to be talking about the nutritional benefits of eating broccoli. I'm only have time to touch on the top 10 benefits. So actually we're not talking about broccoli today. I always like to throw that in for fun. Here we go. So interpreting park biodiversity through wildlife photography is today's topic. And so again, my name is Ranger Nick, not to be confused with Ranger Rick. He is more famous than I am. He even has a magazine. I don't. I have a bachelor's degree in wildlife management from Humboldt State University. And I've got some seasonal ranger experience with the state of Oregon, the state of Nevada, and with Washoe County as well. And then I've also been full-time now with Washoe County for 6 years. It's a total dream job. I love it. My passion is species diversity, just highlighting the different plants and animals that we have in the parks and getting photos and videos of them and sharing them with people, which is what I'm going to be doing today. I am married to a beautiful woman named Dina. I have a son who's in college now, and we also have 5 little Chihuahua rescues. Here's a picture of one of them. His name is Ranger. During free time, we love to serve in our church together and go out and geocache. So if you don't know what geocaching is, it's a high-tech treasure hunt using satellites. It's a lot of fun. We'll have to talk about that later. And on my bucket list is visiting all of the national parks. That's one of my bucket list items. So one of the parks that I help manage is Bowers Mansion Regional Park, located down in Washoe Valley. It's about 50 acres in size. It's located on the eastern slope of the Sierra Nevada mountain range. It has a historic mansion built in the 1860s. Very, very cool story. A lot of history there. We actually offer tours of that mansion on weekends and holidays. Right now, we're doing a little bit of restoration work on it. So as soon as that restoration work is complete, we'll be doing tours again. The park has really big turf areas, so it's perfect for picnicking and barbecuing. Lots of tall shade trees. And there's a seasonal swimming pool there as well. Unfortunately, closed this season due to the COVID pandemic. So hopefully we'll be able to reopen that next year. A couple of playgrounds, some group picnic areas. And then the key here that I want to point out is about half of the park is undeveloped. So that's going to come into play later on in my talk. So remember that one. This is a map of the park. So the park boundaries, you can see, I don't know if you can see my cursor moving, but the mansion is right here. The swimming pool is up here, but you know, more than half, all of this on the western side, this is all undeveloped part of the park. So that's going to come into play in a little bit. The other park that I help manage is Davis Creek Regional Park. A little bit larger, it's over 200 acres, located within the transition zone between the forested Sierra Nevada mountains and the Great Basin Desert. So what's really neat about that is we get to see almost a larger number of species because you see species from both regions as well as migratory species also. Davis Creek has a campground, hiking trails, a fishing pond, and an outdoor amphitheater. And this is a photo of the fishing pond with the mountain in the back covered in snow. So when I first started working down in these parks, I wanted to do as much as I could to highlight the species diversity. And the first step was to kind of come up with a species list. You know, let's start creating a list and figuring out what we have in the park. And so I partnered with the Truckee Meadows Parks Foundation to do a Bioblitz event where we invited people from the public in to kind of help us by volunteering their time in cataloging the diversity. So the Parks Foundation brought out a bunch of identification guides, binoculars, these tools here on the right. This is an aspirator. So it allows you to kind of suck up little bugs that you see into a container that you can observe, and then you can let them go. So it doesn't harm the bugs. But we basically just walked through the park and took pictures and started a species list so that we had an idea of kind of what we were looking at. And so it started out with this. This was my very first biodiversity list, which is just a bunch of words and scientific names. And I thought, okay, that's kind of neat, but I really want to see pictures of these things because to me, pictures are just more fascinating. And so I moved from the list to a photo album. So each of the park has a Facebook page, and on that page, there's a photo album called Species List. So this is a screenshot of the Bowers Mansion one, where I would actually include photos of these different species and have descriptions. So for instance, this is a sagebrush lizard. So you've got the name and the scientific name, but then I also try to include a fun fact or an identifying feature. So this one, because of this black bar on its shoulder, it distinguishes it from the common western fence lizard. So kind of to help people not only visualize what these species look like, but also how to identify them better and maybe some fun facts with regards to them. And all of the photos that are in these albums are actually taken within the park. So even though we have a bunch more species that are highlighted, I don't want to add them to the album until we actually get a photo in the park. It's just kind of a weird thing that I'm doing. So what I started noticing here at Davis Creek is these bird watchers were coming out by the droves, and they have these huge telephoto lenses. And because I mentioned earlier, we're in that transition zone, so we see a lot of different species of birds in the park. It's just kind of a magnet for bird watchers. So I started introducing myself to these folks and building relationships with them and letting them know that I've got this species album that I'm working on, and I'd love to add more photos of the different species to it, and asking them if they'd be willing to share their photos, and they were. So out of that, I created a bird guide for the park, Birds of Davis Creek Regional Park. There's a PDF version on the webpage for the park that you can download and print. Right now, we've got about 40 to 45 species in there, but of course, the park is home to over 100 different species, depending on if they're migrating through or whatnot. And so this is an ever-growing project. And one of the coolest photos, actually, this is what one of the pages looks like. So again, the photos are all taken in the park by local photographers. I've got the identification information and a fun fact for each bird. And this all comes from allaboutbirds.org. And then I put a range map in there as well. So that's kind of an example of what one of the pages looks like. And this is actually one of the coolest photos. So this is a northern pygmy owl. It's a very small owl. It doesn't look small by the picture, but they're no larger than like a house finch. They're actually very small. And so there was a sighting of one of these birds near our fishing pond one winter a couple of years ago, but we haven't seen him since. So it's kind of an uncommon bird to see in the park, but it's not impossible. And I actually met the photographer who took the photo, and I said, would you be willing to share that? Because I would love to put that in the album. And he said he would, and I thought, he may not, because that's kind of that's a really cool photo. But in the email, sure enough, he sent it to me. And so if you notice, this one has a rodent in its talons, and so it makes it even kind of more unique. These birds are interesting because they always look so angry when you look at their face. But that is a very cool addition to the bird guide. So then I met this guy, the taller guy on the left there. This is Tim Terrell, and Tim is a local wildlife photographer, and he really should be working for National Geographic, but when you see the quality of his work, you'll know why. But I met him and we developed a relationship, and we started talking about what can we do to kind of bring in maybe some more species, or to promote those to the public. And so the first thing that we decided to do was have a Bluebird box building workshop. And so a couple of winters ago, we invited the public to come out and to help us build these Bluebird boxes. We had about 15, maybe 20 people, which was really cool. We built 10 different boxes, and then we installed them, some of them here at Davis Creek and some of them at Bowers Mansion, with the hope of getting some bluebirds to start nesting. So this is a picture of one of the bird boxes installed at Davis Creek. We numbered all of them so that we could keep track and observation of those boxes. And the ultimate goal is this. So this is one of Tim's photos, not from Davis Creek, but from elsewhere, where he actually photographed bluebirds and going into nesting boxes. This one's got a cricket or something in its mouth, which is really cool. So that's kind of the ultimate goal with this project, is to be able to photograph the birds flying in and out, having insects in their mouths, that kind of thing. Last year we checked the boxes, and unfortunately we did not have any bluebirds nesting. We did have some other birds like nuthatches and so forth. So every year we clean out the boxes, and then when the spring migration comes into play, we're hoping that maybe this coming year we can get some bluebirds nesting. So that's pretty exciting, and we're kind of following or keeping updates on our Facebook page for Davis Creek regarding this project. So remember I was telling you about Bowers Mansion, and over half of the park is undeveloped. Well, I actually gave Tim access to that undeveloped area so that he could set up a blind to monitor a nesting pair of flickers. So I'm going to play this short video. We're going to see if this works here. This was the first video that he was able to capture of that nesting pair of flickers. Let's see if this works. Okay, well, there was oh, there we go. A little bit of a delay. All right, hopefully that came out pretty good. It looks kind of choppy on this end, but I think you guys get the idea. So what we wanted to do with this project was, let's see if it'll turn off here. Okay. I don't know. Oop, now it's going to start over again. I'll just go to the next slide. How's that? All right, so before I talk about this picture, with the flickers, what we wanted to do was capture the full life cycle of courtship to egg laying to incubation to fledgling, all the way through. But what happened was a big windstorm came through and ended up blowing that snag over. That was an old tree snag that he found that nest in. And so we weren't able to complete that project, but we're hoping to be able to do something like that again in the future. I gave Tim permission to install some game cameras out there behind Bowers Mansion up in that undeveloped area. And these are truly game changers because we actually get to see images of the wildlife that you don't normally see during the day. A lot of these animals come out at night, or they just want to steer clear of people. So again, it gives us a new way to highlight what we have. So this is a coyote that we were able to capture on the game camera. The top picture here is a mountain lion, and it's got a collar around its neck, so it's most likely one that's being tracked by NDOW. The bottom picture, very cool. This is mountain quail. You can tell by their very long plumes on the top of their head. This is a very uncommon bird to see, so it was really neat to be able to capture that on the game camera pictures. A couple of more photos here. We've got black bear, squirrel. This one over here in the corner. Are you able to see that, or is it blocked by the video? So this is a gray fox in the corner here. And let me see. Oh, there you go. Can you see that now? Probably. I'll just have to move that up and down. So this is a gray fox, pretty cool pose. He's kind of like, hey, what's up? And then at the bottom, we have two skunks. Your striped skunk, which is much larger than this guy. This is your western spotted skunk, a little bit smaller, but we do have both species in the area. So in addition to the pictures from the game cameras, we were also able to get videos. And so I'm gonna play a couple of videos for you, and I've got these posted on the Bowers Mansion Facebook page. So if you haven't liked that page, go ahead and like it, because we're always posting videos, pictures, and updates. But some of the videos I just wanna show you are, this is one of a coyote. We'll see if it plays without skipping around too much. So he's doing what's called scent marking. He's trying to leave his scent behind. So that's kind of interesting. With the videos, we actually get to capture some of the behaviors of these animals as well. Okay, let's cancel that. And then we have some bears as well. So this is a black bear. He's a big one. Okay, and then I wanted to show you a funny one with this spotted skunk. So when this one plays, you'll hear in the background the flash, like there's a noise that comes from the flash of the camera, and it kind of scares the skunk a little bit, so he does this little hop. It's pretty funny, so watch this. There it is. Okay, so that's the spotted skunk. And then one of the most recent ones we got, actually, we'll go two more videos and then we'll get back to the PowerPoint. So this one is a gray fox. And one thing we learned about gray foxes is they can actually climb up trees because they have these claws. And so Tim wanted to really capture video of this fox climbing up. And so he put some roadkill or something up here to attract it up, and then we can see it actually up on top of this this snag. So that was pretty interesting to see as well. Good climbers, those gray fox are. And then the most recent one, which is super exciting. I didn't even know we had these guys around here, but we have flying squirrels. And so this is video of some flying squirrels in the area. You can tell by the black bar that runs along the side of their body and how flat their tail is. So we didn't actually get video of him gliding, but we did get him walking around. And so Tim now is currently trying to figure out how to capture video of them gliding from one tree to the next. But we did confirm with Department of Wildlife that we do have flying squirrels in the area on the eastern slope of the Sierra Nevadas. There is a population that exists. So that was pretty exciting. Okay, so that just gives you kind of an idea of some of the videos that we've been able to capture. Let's go back to, there we go. Okay, this is an image of one of the camera traps. So after the game camera, some of those images and videos, Tim wanted to actually build his own camera traps. And so he builds these encasements and he puts Nikon cameras in there. He even has wires that go to either flashes or motion sensors. This is one consisting of a Canon camera and Nikon flashes, and it's triggered wirelessly by using a Camtraption's motion sensor and transmitter. So I'm not real technical, but if you are, you probably understood all of that. But really neat what he does. This is another setup that he has. So he'll attract animals to the log and then be able to get photos or video using this camera trap here. There's a flash over here and one here. And I think this one's a motion sensor in the middle. So these are just sort of the things that he likes to do, is build these different camera traps to try and get different species. This is one of those images, daytime, from one of those camera traps. This is a black bear family. I think this is mama over here on the right and the two kids. So just amazing pictures. Like I said, this guy needs to be looking at working for National Geographic. This is a bobcat that he was able to capture up behind Bowers, and just a really neat photo using the camera trap. The gray fox. So we've had images of the gray fox at night, but nothing where we could see the coloring. And so this is using flashes at night, and you can really see the coloring of the gray fox and how its tail has that bar of black, and it has a black tip. Very, very cool to see the coloring. Now, one of Tim's goals was he wanted to get a picture of the gray fox up on a snag at night with its colors like this, and then also have the starry sky in the background. That was one of his goals that he worked on, and you'll have to just hang tight with me for a few minutes and see if he was able to actually achieve that goal. Here's a coyote image that we got. Again, nighttime with flashes. And here's another coyote. Now, what's interesting about this photo is it brought an awareness to us about an issue that we might need to address in our parks. Look at the rear right leg. Its foot is basically missing. There's a piece of bone here, and there's a wire that sticks down. We don't know exactly how that happened or where that happened, but it's possible that this coyote maybe had an encounter with a barbed wire fence or some sort of fencing, and so it ended up losing its foot. I mean, it's a very sad photo, but again, it kind of brought that awareness to us as far as making sure that we don't have any thing out there in the parks that could harm the wildlife. So interesting aspect to the photography to be able to bring awareness to some of these issues. This is another black bear up in the hills. Here's our western spotted skunk, smaller than the striped skunk. Mountain lion. So this one does not have a collar, and it has spots still. So we were kind of wondering about this one. We thought maybe it was a juvenile that hadn't lost all of its spots yet. We weren't too sure. So I think Tim was gonna check with Endow on that one, but that was kind of a neat capture. So Tim also took another local photographer, Ernie Ross, under his wing and started training him and showing him these techniques. And so Ernie also has some game camera traps set up there at Bowers. And this is one of the images that he got of a black bear next to the ditch. There's a ditch that runs right around here. And really cool picture, just kind of shows how big these guys are, and fluffy. This is a bobcat that Ernie was able to capture on one of his cameras. And if you look closely, he's actually got a snack in his mouth. So there's a chipmunk hanging from his mouth. So that, again, you know, it's stuff you don't see without the aiding of the cameras. This is kind of a funny photo because we actually have two different species in the same photo. It's not photoshopped. So we've got a striped skunk in the foreground and we've got a gray fox in the background. And it's kind of funny just to try and think of maybe a caption for this photo. Like the fox, he just kind of looks put out, like, you know, upset at the skunk for being in his spot or something. I don't know. It's just kind of a funny one. But that was super unique to get a couple different species in the same photo. Okay, so this is, again, I mean, these amazing images. This is a striped skunk with a rubber boa snake wrapped around its neck. I mean, you do not see this every day. So we were trying to figure out, okay, what happened here? My best guess is that the skunk tried to eat the snake, grabbed its tail, and then the snake wrapped around the skunk's neck to keep its head away from the skunk's mouth. Because if you know much about rubber boas, the tail is very blunt, and so it can often be mistaken for the head of the snake. And so we know for sure that the skunk survived. We don't know if the snake survived. The next evening, we received images of the skunk, but not the snake. And we know it was the same skunk because the hair was like matted down on the back of its neck, but there was no snake. So don't know if the snake got away or if the skunk ended up with a meal, but again, super exciting to receive that kind of image. Okay, so remember Tim's goal was to try and get the coloring of the gray fox on a snag with the starry night in the background. Here is the results of that challenge. He actually, you know, played with the settings. I mean, it's a lot of work doing this kind of photography because the batteries need to be replaced. You've got to change your settings. You've got to check this, check that. But he played with it enough and he finally got it figured out. So we actually have the gray fox and the starry night. Again, this is not photoshopped. So this is just a super cool image to be able to receive from Tim so that I could share it with you guys. All right, so the next challenge that Tim had was, I want to do some infrared imagery. And so he set up an infrared camera and was working on getting images in infrared, which is kind of cool. So this is not a nighttime, well, it might be at night, but it's not just a black and white photo. It's actually infrared, which is kind of unique. So you get to see some different things. You'll have to Google infrared photography and you'll see some amazing images out there, but it's a different kind of technique. That was interesting with Tim, just new techniques he wanted to try, and we get different results. One of those techniques was installing a plexiglass mirror out there on a tree just to see what kind of reactions we could get from the animals. And I told him, you know, as long as we weren't harming the animals, as long as it wasn't a fire hazard, you know, we didn't do this in the middle of the summer, that I would be okay with it. And so he installed a plexiglass mirror. We got some pictures and video of the bear and the Steuer's jay. So I'm going to show you the video of the bear on the plexiglass because it's actually kind of funny to watch his reaction. He looks behind the mirror like, where are you? Where'd you come from? And there's another bear you can see coming up from behind him in the mirror. So that was kind of fun. And then the Steuer's jay, I think we have time. We can watch that one too. Let's see. He just kind of pecks at himself in the mirror there. So just kind of some fun, interesting stuff there. Let's see. Go back to the presentation. Okay, so what's next? These are some things that we want to do in the future as time permits. We'd love to have some bat or owl or hawk nesting box workshops where we build some of these nesting boxes and then install them within the park. Again, just kind of giving some of these species another place to call home and give us also an opportunity to photograph them. Going back to that Flickr project, maybe getting like a nesting to fledgling stage on video or pictures, kind of a collage where we can show the different stages of the life cycle. Maybe do some macroinvertebrate photography from the pond. Do some more citizen photo submission promotion. So I always welcome anybody who visits the park. If you take some pictures of animals, plants, anything that's living, and you want to send them to me, I'd be happy to help you ID them, but also put them in the album and be able to highlight them for people to see. Maybe some seasonal park re-photography. So pictures of the pond from the same vantage point during each season. That would be kind of neat. And then maybe some additional Bioblitz events as well to kind of add more to that species list and those albums. So that kind of wraps up this presentation. I've got my email address there if you need to email me or want to send me some pictures. There's a web page there for Tim Terrell as well. And we're both on Facebook also, so you can look us up there, and then WashoeCountyParks.com. But definitely, if you're on Facebook, I would encourage looking at the pages for Davis Creek Regional Park and Bowers Mansion Regional Park, because we are always posting new stuff, and it's pretty exciting to just be able to discover new things. Was it just a few weeks ago, I got an image from Ernie of a flower up behind Bowers, and it's called the Ranger's Button. I thought, that's cool. I've never heard of that flower before or seen it before. So we're always seeing new things and being able to highlight those on the web. So it's pretty cool.